Over the past 2 weeks, we've had a poll here and a poll there that showed Bernie Sanders closing in on Hillary Clinton, or one poll showing them tied, or maybe he's tightening the race, but the average of polls still shows Hillary Clinton way ahead. We now have a situation where we have Hillary Clinton only 5 points ahead of Bernie Sanders, not in one particular poll, but in an average of all recent polls considered by the Real Clear Politics average. Let's take a look at some of the recent polling data and that average. And you'll notice going from a Fox News poll, which actually has Bernie Sanders ahead 3 points, and we sort of have to question how much we can trust that. An NBC Wall Street Journal poll, which has Hillary Clinton up 11. And as I mentioned earlier and last week, a USA Today poll and separately a Quinnipiac poll, each of which have Hillary Clinton up only 2 points within the margin of error. You will see that in a Real Clear Politics average of recent polls, Hillary Clinton is averaging 47.6% support and Bernie Sanders is averaging 42% support, putting Clinton ahead of Bernie nationally by somewhere between 5 and 6 points, of course, considering a general sort of 3 to 4% margin of error. Now, let's be very, very realistic and pragmatic and clear here, Lewis. The reality is, with just two candidates, and remember, 47 up plus 42 adds up to 89. That leaves 11% that are either undecided or supporting someone else on paper right now that will ultimately have to come to one or the other, most likely. Although some people might vote empty ballots, hypothetically not very common. A 5-point deficit for Bernie Sanders means he will not be the nominee, right? We have only two candidates here. If Hillary Clinton can continue getting not 47 to 42 victories, because that leaves 11% out there somewhere, but as she did in Nevada, 52 to 47 victories, once you account for those undecideds, she is going to win. That's just the reality. So as far as Bernie Sanders has come, he came from 40 points back in Nevada to lose by only 5 percentage points. Basic math, right? Not my opinion, not the opinion of Lewis, not my assessment of what I would like to see happen or whatever. Statistically speaking, especially once we get to the winner-take-all states, Hillary Clinton, with a 5-point edge over Bernie Sanders, gets this nomination. That is a mathematical reality, unless Bernie Sanders can go above and beyond and actually surpass Hillary's lead in a number of these upcoming states.
Right. So what we don't have is a poll from every state a day or two before they actually go to the polls.
Right. Although we will, over the next week, have a lot of those polls and a lot of those states going to vote.
And if Bernie does the same thing he did in the first two, well, maybe, well, I should say not the first two, the first and the third. We'll see. Maybe that number will change.
Let's talk about the next primary that the Democrats have, which is South Carolina. Hillary Clinton remains ahead by somewhere between 22 and 26 points. And this is an average of recent polls. The closest poll from South Carolina over the last week has Bernie Sanders down 18 points in South Carolina. Some polls over the last week have Bernie Sanders down as much as 29 points in South Carolina. This is absolutely a key race. It is very possible that Bernie Sanders is going to close this gap in the days remaining before this election, but this really is a key state at this point, Lewis, because by staying close so far, there is no question whatsoever that the Bernie Sanders movement is a huge movement. It is a legitimate movement. It is doing huge things against the Hillary Clinton establishment campaign. But things are going to change very, very quickly if Bernie Sanders does end up losing by even 15 points, even 12 points in South Carolina. And then with March 1st, Super Tuesday next week, where we will have all sorts of states voting, we will have a lot of information, Lewis, 9 days from today about who is going to be the Democratic nominee.
Very exciting. I think, Dave, that that God is just going to pick Bernie Sanders.
You think so?
No, I don't know.
We will see.
Yeah.
We will have data for you over the next, every day that there's elections, we'll be with you on the delegate math and everything that you need to know. So don't worry about that. I know Lewis was getting a little worried this morning that we weren't going to have that data, but trust me, we will.